Hello everyone, thank you for joining today's webinar on Enterprise Service Management, where our speakers will discuss what it really means to introduce a common service management model across a business, sharing best practice and frameworks across different departments, and essentially the real experiences of ESM. So before I introduce our speakers, I'd just like to remind everyone that if you have any questions during this presentation, please post them in the questions section on the GoTo panel, and Mark and Ian will either answer them during the session or we'll get to them at the end. So today we are joined by Ian Aitchison, who is Senior Product Director at Avanti, and Mark Temple, who is Project Delivery Manager at the University of Glasgow. So we should have Mark and Ian on the line.
Hello, good afternoon.
Okay, excellent.
Hi.
I'm really excited to hear what you've got in store for us today. So without further ado, I'm going to pass straight over to you.
Okay, thank you, Scarlett. So this is Ian Aitchison here. I'm just going to share my screen with you all. There we go. Hopefully you can see that coming up okay now. Scarlett, do shout out if anything isn't coming through clearly.
Will do.
That said, thank you. Well, let's crack on. Welcome to everybody. I hope you're well. I hope if you are like me, working from home in lockdown at the moment, I hope you're keeping well. Or if you are a key worker, I definitely hope you're keeping well and keeping safe. Over the next 40, 45, maybe 50 minutes, myself and Mark, we're going to be covering the topic of enterprise service management. My background is I'm from Avanti. I've worked in the IT service management industry now for many years, possibly too many. Mark will probably give us his introduction as we transition into his section, which is really the majority of this event today. I'm really just the intro. So a little reminder, this isn't a vendor pitch, don't worry. We're not going to be talking about Avanti's technologies, but just a reminder, if you have heard of Avanti, we're the vendor that provides enterprise service management and unified endpoint management solutions, providing what we describe as unified IT. As I said, we're not really going to be talking specifically about any one vendor's technology today. This is about more understanding and hearing the journey that Mark and the University of Glasgow have been through as they've evolved and introduced and rolled out their enterprise service management unified service platform and experience across the university. It's a great story. There's been really interesting times for Mark as him and his organization and all the different departments in the university have gone through that exciting journey. Just before we get into that though, a little bit maybe of framing why we're talking about this, what we're talking about. Many of you, I hope, if you're on an SDI event, will already be very comfortable with the concept of service management and the term enterprise service management. It's not a completely new term at all. We're very familiar with that idea. It starts with IT. It starts with IT's understanding of ITSM, understanding of ITIL terms maybe, but particularly understanding how to service and support other business units, other business functions. And of course, naturally, the moment IT starts doing that, other departments say, well, hang on a minute, why can't I offer self-service? Why can't I publish knowledge? Why haven't I got a portal somewhere, the one place that the business comes to get help from my department? And that's what's led to the rolling out of IT service management concepts beyond IT. The idea, of course, that any department or any business unit or business function should be able to serve any other department and business function in a consistent, common, professional and modern way. It's great in ITSM. We kind of lead this. We know about how to do this. It's what we've been doing all our careers. Let me make another point very clearly. What we're talking about today, this has been around a long time. Service management tools, certainly through my career, have very often been used beyond IT. The thing maybe that we're seeing is that move to wide adoption is accelerating and accelerating. We're seeing greater and more adoption and greater and more success as IT leaders are engaging with business leaders, and those business leaders are starting to change how their business functions work, their efficiency in doing that. I talk often to business leads beyond IT in these conversations when we're talking about enterprise service management. And there are some fairly common ambitions that leads of different departments. And you'll have noticed on the title of this session, it's more than just service management for HR. And as you'll see from Mark's session, it's every and any business unit can benefit from these concepts. But the needs are the same. It's seeking efficiency. My department wants to be more efficient. My department wants to provide a modern working experience for the people we serve. My department wants to innovate and do more, wants to be able to take on new projects rather than being held back with repetitive or slow and inefficient work. And my business, whatever that business may be, wants to be successful. I want to help the organization that my department is part of to be successful. We should work together. We should work aligned. We should work more efficiently. Again, kind of no big surprises, I guess. These are obvious things, particularly in IT service management, that we're very familiar with. We're also very familiar with ITIL. And if I was sharing any, I guess, learned observations or learned lessons or observations, it would probably be when talking across an organization, that's not the time to introduce complex service value chains, ITIL 4's latest definitions of governance and continual improvement. Other organizations are not quite as tightly aligned to best practice models as perhaps we are in IT, but there is a subset of what we know and love as ITIL and what we're very familiar with in IT service management that definitely does resonate and add value to organization, departments and business units. IT may be caring a lot about change and release and capacity, as well as self-service and request and knowledge and incident. But when you go into other business units and other business functions, they have a common initial need, and it's all about getting to self-service, a common self-service interface the whole business uses, being able to work tickets and workflow to make their department's work consistent, being able to build and publish knowledge relevant to their department, and being able to automate some of the manual activities that take time. Something else that we're probably familiar with in IT is shift left. Shift left as a concept again. Let's not teach grandmother to suck eggs, but hopefully many of us are familiar with the idea of shift left. But this conversation is just as relevant in any other department in an organization. When somebody that department serves needs help and they contact your department, the first question they're going to ask is, how do I contact them? The next question that gets asked is, well, now we've got this new inquiry that's come in, what are we going to do with it? Because if the person that receives that inquiry doesn't have the answer, whatever it may be, whether it's fixing something, providing something, initiating something, who are they going to pass that to for it to be progressed? How does that work get done? And if they pass it on to somebody else and they need to involve some other part of their department or organization, well, when's that going to be done? When that eventually gets back to the individual that needs service from that department, often that can take a very long time. I'm personally familiar with some of these experiences myself, interacting with departments in our organization. You can tell the ones that are following ESM practices because they're easy to access and you immediately get a rapid response back. And of course, the shift left model has other benefits as well. If you can shift left and make the answer be provided to the individual that needs help at the first point of contact, then that means you're also freeing up individuals in that department to do better work or more efficient work or new work, new projects. And ultimately you move to the self-serve model, which frees up the maximum number of people in a department to be more efficient and more effective and provide better service. Again, observations, you'll hear from Mark shortly, who will give us really the real world experience, having worked through some great examples of enterprise service management recently. But from my perspective, certain common factors come up, and coincidentally, for a good presentation, they all seem to start with the letter P. So as you're thinking about, and you may be well engaged in here, and you may already recognize many of these points, but effective use of service management principles and tools outside of IT, excuse me, bring my slides back for a sec, tools outside of IT starts with people, and it starts with leadership from the very highest part of the organization. This needs to be something that is signed off from the top because it influences the behavior of every department or business function that's involved. Then you also need each business function to have its key stakeholders that buy in and understand the vision of why this is being done. And then you need to be communicating as the project progresses, as it approaches pilot phase, as it goes live, as it evolves, as new features become available, as you get feedback. Communication is key. Now, talking about feedback, and Mark may reference this as well, sometimes you get feedback that says, that's not ideal, can we change it, can we adjust it? Feedback you weren't expecting. And it's important to set people's expectations. You know, this is going to move in a series of steps. It's not going to do everything in one go, but your feedback will help us guide it in the right direction. Obviously, technology is important. I work for a vendor, so I always end up talking about technology, and a standard of experience that matches that we expect as a consumer in our personal lives is very important. We have expectations of a standard of user experience. Inevitably, you're going to get some feedback or need to make some changes. Practice agility, not rigidity. And there perhaps we have a little connection with ITIL we can reference. Persevere, as with any IT project. In many ways, this is no different. There are challenges, and there are some things that require a stubborn perseverance to make sure it's successful. And then when it is successful, the last P is always PR. Communicate the success. Communicate how much difference the consistent working practices and the self-service interface and the ability to provide faster, better help from any organization unit. Communicate that out, make sure people know the impact it's having. And they all start with the letter P, which always makes a great slide. And on that note, that was my relatively light-hearted intro to the real headline content of this session. We're now going to hand over to Mark, Project Delivery Manager at the University of Glasgow, to tell us his story down the enterprise service management path. Mark, are you there?
Yep.
Excellent. I think I can just transfer control over to you. Let me see if I can do this now. If not, I'm sure. There we are. I'm making you the presenter, Mark. So there we are. You should be able to take it from here.
Yeah,
and then I think when you've talked through, we'll come back to me. I've got a few questions I'd like to ask you, and then we'll see if any others have come through on the question channel. Thanks, Mark. Over to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Ian. I'm conscious there's a bit of a delay in my slides changing because I think I'm at the end of the slowest broadband connection in Scotland. So please bear with me. All being well, you can see a slide. Please tell me that you can see a slide.
I can't see a slide yet, Mark.
You're not seeing a slide yet. Okay.
Don't you love it when the technology conspires against you? Ah, I see a slide, Mark. Good news. You're off.
At last, hey.
Thank you,
Ian. Sorry to keep you waiting, folks, and hopefully the transitions between the slides will be a bit smoother, but we'll work with it. So hi, yes, Mark Temple. I work for the University of Glasgow, as Ian has said. I've been here for just over 29 years. IT is not my first career, and the university is not my first employer. But so I've crossed the divide from the world of being a motor mechanic into IT, and worked through over the years desk side support into, as I said, looking after our a number of service management platforms over the years, but my role now is focused on our enterprise service management, our IT service desk, IT service training. So yeah, that keeps me out of trouble. I'm also the regional chair for ITSM in Scotland. So enough about me, and let's see if we can get. Just wait for this slide to jump over the fence into the next one. I'm conscious I'm not seeing it moving over just yet. Come on. We're still stuck on the first slide as far as I can see. I'll start introducing the second slide anyway. Please bear with me. Just a bit about the university. University of Glasgow has been or was established in 1451, so we've been around quite a long time. We're a research and teaching focused university. We're split into 4 colleges, and we have our professional services directorates as well. So a large organisation, region of 8,000 staff and in excess of 28,000 students. So I see a lot of people to look after. I'm conscious you're still not seeing me.
Mark, it's Ian here.
Hello?
Would it help if I shared your slides? Because I have a copy of your slides that you sent earlier.
let's do that. Let's do that, Ian.
Yeah, okay. Could you make me presenter then for a second? Because I have them here. I have your slides right here. It's one of the challenges of the work from home world that many of us face at the moment. There we go. Thank you. I'm going to show my screen. How's that looking? There you are. Can you see yourself?
Let me just bring up the other window.
Should be coming through fine, I think, Mark.
I can see it.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you. You okay there, Mark? Shall I move you on to the next slide?
No, I'm not. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing it. It's more awkward.
Okay, well, I can tell you what your next slide is.
I've got you now. I've got it now.
Okay.
Right, we're away, folks. Right.
Established in
Okay,
1451 is up
yes,
on
indeed,
screen now.
got that one. So yep. I wasn't around when the university was first established, but as I say, I've been there quite a while. I won't read out all of this. Some interesting facts about the university. As you can see, a beautiful place to work, an excellent campus. But it's safe to say any organisation that's been around for all this time will have picked up some bad habits along the way as well, and that's something that we've been working hard over the past few years to address. That where areas have become siloed, where things have been done the same way for a long time, and it's there's an opportunity to change. So a lot of the presentation will be focused around that. Ian, can you kick me on a slide, please?
There's a new slide. More in common than you think.
Excellent. So yeah, what to say about this? I think, and certainly from my experience in the university, quite often people will focus on what makes them different. Why is my department different from your department? Why do we do things, or we don't want to do things the same way that you do them. We like doing it this way. So there's a lot of that goes on. When in effect, if you think back to, from an IT point of view, we deal with incidents, we deal with changes, service requests. Now, other departments deal with, they need to know who has the problem or who is requesting the service. What is it they're requesting? Who's doing it? Where is it in its life cycle? All of this common across all disciplines. We may call things something slightly different, but in essence, it all comes back to this, who's got the problem or is requesting it? What is it that we're doing for them? Who's managing it? And so on. So, looking at these terms here, we have across our various disciplines that are in HR, they talk about cases inquiries. In our campus security. Unfortunately, at times we do have crimes, but they have incidents. Their incidents are slightly different to the IT incidents, but it's still something that needs to be recorded, categorized, reported against, managed, all of that. So they have, say they have incidents, they have crimes, they have lost and found property. And this is important, across the various disciplines that they're able to record what it is they need to record. And although things are kind of the same, they are different. And I said people are, they focus on what makes them different. In some cases, though, the language does need to be different, and this is something that we'll talk about as we go on. Ian, can you move me on again, please? So apologies for some horrible animation here, but it is. I mean, this is the question you need to to ask yourself. Why can't all of these functions use the same system? And we'll go into this as we go through the presentation, that I think traditionally you would have different systems for different functions. And in some cases you still do, but there's a middle ground. There's something that can link all of these together, and that is the practice of enterprise service management, and the appropriate technology to knit all of that together. So these are some of the areas that we either have, we have done this with, or we're doing it. We're working with them at present to get them on board. And it's it's challenging. There's a lot of work in it, but it can be done, and that's what we'll go through in this presentation. Okay, Ian, if you knock us on one, thanks. So first off, I'm going to talk about the barriers. We'll get the negatives out of the way, and then we'll deal with the positives. Okay, Ian. Yep. So barriers. You might be surprised to hear the barrier is not technology. It, for the most part, as Ian said earlier, the modern service management platforms can be adapted to work across different disciplines. Quite possibly they all can't, but there's certainly, the marketplace has systems that will are able to do the job. But it's getting people to want to change, to see the benefits in not just working in their own silo. Now, whether that's a silo within their particular line of business, or just say generally across your business, that they've done something in a certain way and they don't want to give it up. It's an erosion, let's say, of their autonomy, that they don't want to engage with other departments, or if they do, it's by email rather than, say, using a common platform. So there's work to be done there, and that won't be a surprise to anyone. As usual, the technology can be the easy bit. It's getting people on board, getting the buy-in that's the difficult part. Okay, Ian. Yeah, and I alluded to, you may already have a best of breed tool for your HR or facilities or finance or whatever, but it's something that is in isolation. Now that works fine for the department who's providing that service, but it doesn't work fine for the people who are consuming the services. They don't want to have to go to 4 different self-service portals. They want one place to go, and this is where I said you may have tools that do these things already, but what is the glue that holds them all together? Where do you fill in the gap in the middle? And this is where I think enterprise service management as a discipline and as a system itself comes into play. And that's what we'll talk about. So on we go, Ian. Okay, yes, barriers. This is absolutely key. And you know, if I think back to when we went through a tender exercise, you will never succeed, in my humble opinion, if you are foisting an IT system on HR or finance or any other discipline. That this is the tool that works for us in IT, and you need to take it as is. You need to be talking in ITIL terms when it's a completely foreign language to somebody in HR or whatever. The disciplines are common. We can learn from that, but not all of the terminology is the same. And this is where I think, if you are, going back to that earlier slide of HR want to talk about inquiries and cases, they're not interested in incidents and seeing that kind of language appearing anywhere in the system. The system has to be able to present, whether it be you might be looking at the same fields, but the labeling is different. You're hiding things that that belong to another function. That even if you've got the security in place that says, well, if you click on that tab, you won't be able to see anything if you're in function X, but you will be able to see it if you're in function Y. Well, why does the function who can't use that part of the system even know that it's there at all? Why is it cluttering up their view of the world? So it's getting all of this, that the system can be partitioned in a way, can be configured in a way that you've given HR something that, as far as they're concerned, is an HR system. It's not an IT service management system that's been dressed up to look like an HR system. On you go, Ian. Another one of my pet hates, and this is something I don't know whether it's particular to universities or whether it's common across other landscapes, but we had a huge, and we still have to a certain extent, a love of shared mailboxes, and this is why would I use this service management system when I've got a shared mailbox? I can see, all of my team can see what's come in. We can see if somebody's dealt with it. That works fine for us. And until you point out, well, we had this with our telephony department, and email is unstructured. Half the time when you get an email, you can't, the first thing you've got to do is go back to the person who sent it to you and ask them what it is that they're actually asking you for. And that was a great case in point for us was our telephony department. Say they would get an email saying, Professor is traveling tomorrow and urgently needs a data bundle. And that's great, but there's nothing we can do with this email other than send it back to the person who sent it to us, saying, who is Professor? Where is Professor traveling to? How much data does Professor need? What is Professor's phone number? And give us a project code to charge this to. Had that come through a service catalogue, the first thing we can do is fulfill this rather than the first thing we do. And the only thing we can do is bat it back to the requester. We can even, where possible, can we automate this request? So this is, it's showing people how inefficient email is, and what the benefits are of using something dynamic in a service catalog where people can request. Are we going to switch off email anytime soon? No, I don't think we are. We still will take instant reports through email, but from a request point of view, that absolutely has to be through the catalog. And I say, for instance, we can automate the picking up of and processing of the inbound email. Okay, Ian. Okay, other barriers to using, I think this is true. Having spoken to a number of people over the years about it, there perhaps is a lack of awareness. We bought the IT service management tool to do IT, but we never thought it could do something else. It could work elsewhere. And there will also be a lack of awareness within the business that you are sitting on a resource here that could be used by other areas in the business. They will have, people will have gone in through your self-service portal. They will have reported that the printer doesn't work or whatever, but never have thought that this would work within their, the area, the service that they provide. So yeah, I think definitely a lack of awareness. And on to the next point, which may be more controversial, but I mean, I think we need to challenge ourselves, and I would challenge all of you who aren't using your IT service management platform outside of IT to go and have a really good look, to see whether this is something that you can start to grow. And my guess is, well, you wouldn't be on this webinar if you weren't interested in going down that route. So, absolutely, it can be done, but you need to set your mind to it. So on to the next one, Ian, please. So let's get, and if you just click again, Ian, I'd fix that in my version of the slides. So why are we doing this? So we've gone through the what can get in the way of us getting to this, but what do we get, and how? Again, we need to use this to sell it to the business of the benefits that we'll get from doing this. And it is this source of institutional knowledge that it's not just stuck in one person in one department's head. We can share that across that particular area, but we can also take it out of that area and share it, more widely across the organisation. We don't have people creating their own version of how you do this, or we have one place for people to go to get that knowledge. And this, I'll talk about. We have something in the university we call Reach Out, which is an umbrella for a number of services who led quite separate lives up until quite recently. And we did a lot of, well, sorry, this, we don't provide that service, or we can't help you with that service. You need to go and speak to someone who is in the building across the road, or the building half a mile up the road. But as our campus grows, that half a mile is becoming a mile and more. And it's not the right thing to be doing, to just keep, it's not my job. So we took the view that we had to do something different, and this was to enable people across multiple services to be able to have just a baseline of understanding of what other people do, so that they can help staff and students who come to them. So on to the next point, Ian, please. And again, yeah, I mean, this is, if all of your service providers have their own portals or their own cut out and keep Word documents, as I call them, PDFs for downloading, scribbling on, scanning back in, emailing over to somebody. The university has a website that is, has tens of thousands of pages on it. So why do I need to know which department provides a service to be able to consume that service, or to be able to report a problem with that service? Why can't I just go to one place where I know what it is I want to do? So I ask that question, and I'm presented with the appropriate forum, tile, whatever you want to call it, or knowledge for the audience that I belong to, that I don't need to know at this point which, how the organisation is structured, where the people providing this service live, this kind of thing. That it's I have a portal that I go to. I ask the question, I get what I need to get. Now after that, yes, I get a response from service X or Y, but I didn't need to know that it was them who provided it in the first place. I think that's key to enterprise service management. And Don, Ian, please. Yeah, I mean this is really, this to me is what has made the biggest difference for us, is this being able to take a number of services who, they are separate, but they can try and help people. We have this common knowledge base, we have the common portal that we all know how it works. We give, so if you think of our IT service desk, our library customer services, our student services inquiries, these were 3 different functions, and they all now have a baseline of information about each other. So someone going to our library customer services can get help setting up Wi-Fi on their phone. Someone coming to our IT service desk won't get turned away if they ask us a question about council tax or something like that. We can either find the answer for them, or we can help them find the answer themselves. And worst case scenario, where we can't, it may be something that does have to be escalated from a functional point of view, that we can create the request within the common system and assign it to the team. So when the person gets to that other service, they know that they're coming, the questions have already been asked. So again, this is the benefit of a common platform, that you're able to escalate, or between functions, and not just in your own line of business. And on again, please, Ian. Okay, so yes, absolutely, one-stop shop. Don't make me think. I don't need to know where all of this, where the service providers live, how the organisation is structured. I've got one place to go to ask my question, or to request the service, or to report the issue, and that's how it should be. And on, please, Ian. Yeah, for us, very much. So we took this. We have a huge campus expansion going on. Now, granted, that has, like everything else, has slowed a bit over the past couple of months, but it will pick up eventually. But we don't want to keep providing services and support the way that we had been doing it. We wanted this to be much more joined up, and say giving the various services across campus access to what other, generally what other teams do, how they do it, the common things that they deal with. I mean, we've got our knowledge base well over 1,000 articles in it now, and these are added to, by all the functions, and they're all happy that others are, they're the subject matter experts. They create the knowledge, but other functions across the university can then use that knowledge. And on to the next point. Yep, I mean, shift left. Who'd have thunk it that people in HR were talking about shift left? People in areas in finance, in student support. This concept of shift left, which has very much been an IT concept, that they're brought right into it. I mean, we have in HR. We have HR assistants, we have HR advisors, we have HR managers. So there's your first, second, and third level support, and it's as equally, shift left is just as key to what they're doing as it is in IT. That is this something that the employee can request for themselves? Can they get the answer for themselves, or is it something that that we can surface this knowledge, or present this process within a platform that allows us to, someone at level 2 or level 1 to be dealing with it, rather than having to go all the way to level 3. So absolutely key to them as it is to us in IT. And it is, we've learned a lot from, as Ian said at the start, service management is something that IT's been doing for a long time, and it's something that is equally as applicable to other areas. And we've found across as we've been working through in this, we've done something for one department, and I said, you know what, that would work really well elsewhere. Some of the privacy stuff we did for HR has worked brilliantly for our occupational health staff, has worked very well in complaints and campus security. There's so much overlap, and again, you're able to reuse processes and the knowledge you have within the platform to benefit other areas. On to the next one, Ian. Please. Yeah, so I say just learn from one area. Is this something that we can take that's working in IT and apply it into HR? Just at the same time, you're challenging. As I said to folk, I'm never going to put a bust process into the system, because there is no, just because we take the broken process and we put it in here that it's suddenly going to work. That is not the case. We have to challenge. Why are you doing it like that? Are you sure about that? It's these kind of things as almost a critical friend that we are asking the questions before we do something. Again, it's someone out with the area that you work in, looking at your processes, maybe in a better place to, why is it like that? Well, yeah, because that's just the way that we do it. Well, but no, we don't have to actually do it that way. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about it until you mentioned it. Is this kind of thing that is very helpful when you have, say, people from others looking at how you do things, because you do. It's a fresh pair of eyes on them. And on, Ian, please. Yep, absolutely. We had our occupational health people were about to buy a new system. We've built what they wanted in the current system, so we didn't have to go and buy another system. You don't, where you're developing against one platform, you're paying one bill against now. You might end up in an arm wrestle over some wooden dollars internally, but that's not insurmountable. But if you aren't using multiple platforms, the ROI is got to be there. You're wringing more benefit out of the system that you're paying for rather than paying for other systems. And on, please, Ian. Okay, so just some quick, and some of these might seem obvious, but it's engaging with the business areas. You've got to prove that it works in one place and then take that functionality and show it to another area. And even sometimes this is within the same area. We've had areas, and I think finance is probably a good example, that you've got one team where it's working brilliantly for them, and another team across the corridor who, again, are wedded to their inbox, and they're, oh no, we don't need one of these. No, there's nothing for us here. Leave us alone. And it is that you then get the people in the department saying, "Oh, why are you not using the system? We need to be able to escalate, an incident from us to you," and you're almost getting that internal peer pressure to move things forward. But the same, the engagement piece is really, really important. Yeah. And on, Ian, please. Yeah, so it is taking this, how many departments will have a leap of faith without having getting a reference from some other area within your organisation about how well it's worked for them. And it's taking those, it's getting those internal reference sites, and then being able to use that as a platform or a stepping stone to other lines of business that this works for us. So why can't it work for you? And it is when you're getting that peer pressure. I think that's when you know that you've won. You really have delivered something special. When the departments themselves are pushing it forward rather than this coming from someone else. And on, please, Ian. Yeah, so goes without saying. In fact, even I think you kick on the next couple of points there as well, please, Ian, and I'll just talk to them all. Yeah, so this only works if the system, you will get pushed back on. Oh well, it won't be secure. If it works, if you're using it in IT, I don't want those IT folks saying, but I'm doing, and absolutely. I mean, we are dealing with some really confidential material between our HR, data protection, accommodation, this kind of stuff. Is quite chewy, I think would be the word I would use there. So absolutely, the system has to be watertight. You have to be able to apply different roles for different functions so that they see what they need to see in a language that works for them, that they don't see clutter from some other person's workspace or other functions' workspaces, that labels are in their language, and they say just that they have a hand in creating this and designing it, which is what we did with our HR team. They absolutely were behind this all the way. They designed it. They designed it from the ground up. And on, Ian, please. Yeah, MC just mentioned that. In terms of permissions, data segregation, it absolutely has to be watertight, and the people using the system have to be confident that it's watertight. And without that, it's you just cannot move into certainly the areas that we've moved into without them having absolute confidence that they are their view of their data, and even I mean, we've got our HR department have the ability to lock a record down to the owner of that record. So it could be an HR matter about someone who works in HR. That it could be an HR matter about a senior member of staff, something like that, so that they can lock it down to just they can see it, and that they can then invite whoever they need to collaborate on into that particular record. So that is big for us. And on, please, Ian. I think we're nearly there. We're nearly there. So yep, just summary from me, that the single portal is, without it, it's not enterprise service management. You're still making people jump through hoops. You're making people know how your organisation is structured, where people live, where services live, where they can go and download forums, that kind of thing. It needs to be in one dynamic portal. You will save money as a result of this, because your people are able to get the help they need quicker. So in theory, less downtime for them, and less time just going searching for what it is they need. Getting shift left to say have people in HR talking about shift left, I think is a wonderful thing, and that proves that the IT, the concept of IT service management can be, but we can take the bits that work for us and introduce them to other functions, and they'll work for them. Don't overlook though the cultural piece here. And that's that's probably a bigger ask than your technology side of things will be, is getting people to buy into it and make sure that that it is watertight and that all of the people are confident that it's watertight. So I think that's me, and thank you, Ian, for sorting out our slide debacle.
No problem at all, Mark. Thank you for that. I just wanted to ask you a few questions. I'm just going to share my screen. There we are. That should be sharing now. Because Mark and I, we ran through this last week. We were talking about the message here, and I had some questions from his presentation, and I thought it'd be really useful for us to ask those questions in this session. So there were three things that kind of jumped out for me. The first one was, Mark, you tell a great story about what you've done and all the challenges and the things to think about. What was the genesis of this initiative in the first place? Why did it come about?
I think we've been, the thought that the system would work for other, for other disciplines was very much probably the initial driver, in that, again, seeing the potential that something that works for IT could work outside of IT. I think probably early on would be where it came from, but our ongoing the campus expansion and just the thought of we made a point of saying we are not going to deliver services in these new buildings the way that we've always done it elsewhere. This is an opportunity to change, and this is where the single portal, the knowledge base that all of our people can use, that's where it
So
that took the initial use it across different systems, but it fitted so well.
And it sounds like that was initiated as an IT ambition. It started in IT. Is that right?
Yes, yeah. I mean, it certainly it started life with IT, but I think collectively as a university we've been, we have a huge transformation, as I'm sure everyone does, a huge transformation initiative on the go. So it's the time was right. The timing was very right for us, with the tool set coming along, and say just a general, I think, a willingness for people to do things.
Yeah, but I guess it's a great example of how
a good team effort.
Yeah, how IT can make a big difference to an organisation. It requires IT to say, hey, we're going to put our hands up, we're going to toss our hats in the ring. We can do this. We can change the whole business. My next question for you, Mark, was what's been the biggest challenge? If you were giving advice to anybody, what would you say? Watch out, this is the big one, or the one that's been most difficult, or we keep coming back to? What would you say?
Oh, there's a few contenders here. We went for it in terms of not just doing. We'll do IT and then finish that off, and then we'll move on to HR, and then we'll move on to somebody else. We have had the bulk of this running concurrently, and in some areas that's because because you have a relationship between student services and IT. You can't just do IT and leave student services, because you're sort of orphaning one from the other. So that's been very challenging. When we moved, hundreds of teams in one go, that was a big ask. Keeping the momentum going. I mean, at times I suppose we don't have a huge team of people doing this, which might surprise people. I mean, there's basically been a core team of 2 of us have done this. Now, granted, we've had support, great support from colleagues across the university, but it's been that in itself is quite challenging. If I had my, if I could rewind, then I would say we probably could have done with a bigger team at the time. But we've got there. but it's difficult, you know, say when you've got so many, in some cases, competing factors for your time. So that's, you know, I think just the scale of it has been the biggest challenge. But that's the way to make it work, is to get all of these people going at the same time, rather than, you know, yeah, we'll come round, we'll get round to you in 3 years' time, and by that time they've gone and done something different. That's always been my worry, that if we left people alone, they would go off and do their own thing.
Yeah, so you guys, you rolled it out to all departments at the same time, pretty much, didn't you? You didn't do a phased introduction.
No, I mean, there are still some who we're bringing in, but the bulk of what we did in one go. I mean, yes, there are some things that, if anything, it's probably get broader across some of the departments, and there are some functions, you know, we still need to get going with. But the bulk of it was a big bang, and yeah, that's been challenging.
Well done. And of course, the final question, I do notice the time, we've only got a few minutes left. But the final question, obviously, we are in unusual times. There's no doubt about that. How has this implementation worked? Has it helped with the whole COVID, work from home, lockdown, completely unexpected change to all of our worlds? Has it been successful through that?
Absolutely. And if you think, if I went back a couple of months, so at the moment the university is in its main exam period. So there's about 2,000 students going through exams and assessments every day of the week for a month. And all of a sudden we had to make that online, rather than coming into a big hall, you know, with 300 people sitting down at desks and scribbling away. So that was a huge undertaking, but then we had to support all of that. And we've been able to stand up a 24-hour, I mean, our IT help desk was Monday to Friday, but we've put a 24-hour cross-discipline, cross-function service desk, and that is all leveraged off the platform, that they've got the knowledge base. So we were able to train people in a morning in what they were going to do, how to use the system, and all of the things about what we were going to do in this desk. So without ESM, we would have been dead in the water. You know, there's no way we could have done this. So that's hugely powerful, and it's been very well received across the university. You know, it has a dedicated resource in the portal, dedicated knowledge that we've been able to promote to people. So, say without ESM, no way.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Mark. I see time running out quick. We should probably turn briefly to Scarlett and ask, do we have any other questions that have come through on the chat?
There are a few questions, but I'm not sure we have enough time to cover them. But would you two be happy if I was to email you the questions after this, and then I'll try and get the answers to the relevant people?
Absolutely.
Yep, no bother.
Fantastic. Okay, well, thank you both so much. That was a really interesting presentation, and I always love to hear customer stories of their, what they've actually gone through. So thank you both so much, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, rest of your week, and thank you to everyone for joining us today.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.